Hey friends, welcome to another episode of 52 of My Closest Friends. Tonight, you're just hanging out with me. And these episodes typically are not the ones that do super well. And you know what? That's totally understandable. This is not 52 of Hannah's inner thoughts, However, it's been a couple of weeks since I've posted an episode, and I wanted to give some context and maybe just talk about where my life is at currently, as well as I need to kind of just get back in it. So, before I started posting episodes in January, I had quite a stockpile of recordings that I had to kind of go off of, and the plan from there was to just have episodes scheduled regularly to be able to record. And oftentimes people ask me, what's the most difficult part, or what is the part about this that you enjoy the most, what's the part that you enjoy the least? And I enjoy all of it. All of it. I just do. I enjoy getting to sit and have the conversation with my friends. I love being able to go back and listen to it. I then love being able to then share that with the world. Even I would say the part that I enjoy the least is the editing. I think some of that just comes down to the fact that I just don't have as much exposure to that. But I would say maybe what is right behind the editing would be the scheduling, because I'm a busy adult that has a full schedule, and I am asking 52 other busy adults that have full schedules to try to make this work. And so that stockpile lasted me quite a while, and I did have some pretty regular episodes. But then, to be honest, it was kind of a perfect storm of my life got to be a little busy. And busy is good. I once said that if I ever started a band, I think that it would be called Good But Busy. And then when things are good and things are busy, you have to then decide what is taking top priority right now. And it just currently, I've had to give space to other things in my life. This afternoon, I was spending time with one of my close friends, close friend that doesn't have an episode yet, but TBD. And we were talking about how seasons of life can make a difference on maybe the amount of time that you're putting into relationships. And even though things in your life can be really, really good, we only have so much bandwidth to be able to do things. And we were talking specifically about this individual is a newlywed, and there has been this transition between I am super excited to have all this time with my husband, but also I miss my friends, I miss the community that comes with that. And I appreciated her sharing, and I shared maybe from the other perspective of not regarding her specifically, but I have been in double digits worth of weddings, and there are seasons where things change, and there's tons of grace given to when you have couples that go from just dating to engaged to married, that things have to exist there. But I told her I appreciated the perspective of realizing the importance of community with one another, and that you cannot get everything that you need from just one person aside from Jesus, but that's not the point. So when I have looked at what 2025 so far has brought me in regards to community, and how today I'm sitting here on my couch and I'm reflecting on what community looks like, I am just brought to this place of thankfulness. I think community, for those who have it, understand the true gift of what that is. For people who don't, I hope that there is a longing for you to be involved in community. And so several of you may be what is that? I don't know. What does that even look like? What does community look like? I'm not saying that I have it all figured out. I think that it's I would say that I have a decent grasp on it, given that the name of this podcast is 52 of My Closest Friends. And the other day, one of my friends said to me, this is what she was saying. She was just like, I don't have the bandwidth to maybe reach out and stay as in contact and as an intentional with people as what you are, referring like to me. She said, like, that's your superpower. And I kind of just was like I responded appropriately, but then there was a part where I was just like, yeah, but like sometimes it's really hard, sometimes it's really hard. Like, despite the fact that like I love setting up these interviews and I love going through this entire process, and the idea of knowing that like we're making our way through 52 of my closest friends and I'm getting to introduce, and there have been so many really, really neat things that I don't share on here that have happened as a result of this podcast. Some because I don't think that that's the intention. Like the intention of this is not like, hey, here are all the stats of these personal connections that have been made from this podcast, but rather those are just like winks and additional moments of like thankfulness and gratitude that these interconnected people in my life who don't know each other but come to know each other through this podcast has created a little bit of its own community, and it's super special and it's super sweet. And I have asked God throughout this process, like, can you just answer some prayers for me, and that I'm not doing this in vain, or that this is not just something that's like a waste of my time. And not because honestly that I have any expectation other than like I just really enjoy this and I want to sit and have conversations with my friends, or I put a microphone in their face, but I'm also somebody that I don't like to waste my time. And so if this is something that I just really shouldn't be doing, I've been praying that God would just really show me that I shouldn't. And I don't feel that way, just so we're clear. I don't feel that this is not something that I should be doing. I just sometimes do things and I have to ask God, should I keep going, or do you want me to stop and maybe realign with maybe something a little differently? As you all know, if you had just heard that, Suki's in the room. She is always in the room. We have already stopped at one point to go get the ball from the other room that she somehow shut the door behind herself. I don't know. But Suki's in the room, my girl. So I guess all of that to kind of just say is that I appreciate all of you. I appreciate those that listen. I appreciate those who have been blessed and have blessed others as a result of hearing people share things on here that's important to them. So let me share some things that are important to me. I kind of joked at the beginning of this year that I really felt like 2025 was going to be my year, and I don't know, 2025 in so many ways has been a dumpster fire. I mean, it takes 5 minutes on the internet to be like, well, I'm just going to shut this off and move on, right? However, there were just some things at the beginning of this year. I was like, I'm just going to do it. You know what I mean? Like, this is just going to be my year. And then immediately, right out of the gate, as I've shared on prior episodes, like, God just like one answered prayer after another. And I continue to see one answered prayer after another. And I've had these moments where I am in just like true thankfulness, and I get to rejoice and I get to praise God for answered prayers. But there have also been times this year where other people in my life who I care about have not had a good year, and it is due to everything out of their hands. There have also been people out there who like they've had a pretty good year as well, I think that like life is just very subjective, and the idea of, if we all put our troubles in the middle of a pile together and we started to look to see what everybody else's problems were, we would very, very quickly want to pull our problems back into ourselves. But I can tell you that I have a close friend who has had a really, really, really rough year, and I will kind of give a little more context to that in a minute. And this friend has carried a lot of burdens for me in the past, and I believe that I have carried burdens of this individual. And not only do I feel like that, like, I have become a good friend of this individual, like I definitely, I see this person as family. I see their family as family. And to know that I have had such a good year, just a year of all of these good things. Not to say that I didn't have days that, weren't great, but like, I've had a good year. Like, I know I keep saying that, but, you want to share those good things with other people. But when someone's had a really, really bad year, I don't want to go and be like, hey, I know you're having a really bad year, but let me tell you all these good things that's happening in my life. And honestly, this person would receive it, and they would be happy, like, for me, and they would be thankful to see these answered prayers happening, and to see that I have joy in my life, and that I'm receiving I guess a good year. But on the other hand, I was encouraged recently, that people who are going through tough times, it's sometimes beneficial to be like, hey, like, life is not great right now, but like, here are some things that are maybe happening in my life that are good and that are encouraging, and may be able to encourage you. I would say maybe tread lightly there. Don't just like walk into a room and start telling everybody, oh, I know that your life sucks, but here are all the good things about mine. Just, read the room, read the situation. And so, let me, I guess, dive into a little bit more. I know I'm being very, very vague at the moment, but let me dive in and just give you just a little bit of context. Because this, despite how good my year has been, this has played, quite a large part in just how my life has gone this year, and in ways I've been able to be maybe more thankful. So the friend that I mentioned that has become family, lost his dad in very beginning of February, very kind of quickly and very unexpectedly. And there were a lot of questions that seemed to go unanswered for a while. And nobody wants to lose a parent, let alone prematurely, So he lost his dad, and, you're like, man, that's really, really rough. I can't wait for the sun to maybe shine for you a little bit. That's not a great way to start the year. And then fast forwarding, his mom, also, that means that his mom lost her husband. And let's fast forward to today. So the Thursday, February 6th was his dad's funeral. And today, Thursday, I should know this date, the 15th of May, was his mom's funeral. And, I was very close to both of these individuals. I know close for some of you, when you think about my life, might be really relative, but when I say close, I mean like these individuals were my family, and there is a pretty large hole in my heart at the moment. How do I want to say this? Because not that I'm saying that like this family story is my story to tell, but it has occupied a lot of my space, a lot of my mind over the last handful of weeks, which is maybe why I have been maybe just a little more distant with the amount of work that I'm able to give to this podcast at the moment. I started going to my church in the fall of 2018, and from the fall of 2018 until late fall of 2024, almost every single Sunday, multiple Sundays a month, I had lunch with my friends' parents. So much so that, like, they're not my friends' parents, like, they're my friends, I had, we met them when they were in their 60s, and or I met them when they were in their 60s, and I had friends who were in their 60s and transitioned into their 70s that I looked forward to seeing every single week, and considered me family, and showed up for me in so many ways that I never knew that I needed. And I remember last year I had a kidney stone, and that was something that Vicky and I unfortunately have in common. I won't even get into the terror that is kidney stones, but I had a kidney stone, and I was not at church on that Sunday. And so then naturally they were like, "Hey, are you okay?" And I was just like, "Yeah, I have a kidney stone. If you need," like, they were like, "If you need anything, just let me know." And so for some reason, I just really wanted chicken noodle soup and peanut butter and jelly. And I received, 6 or 7 cans of chicken noodle soup, and the largest tub of peanut butter that I had ever seen in my life, and 2 loaves of bread. And it wasn't just the fact that they did it, you know what I mean? It was the quantity. It was like, we don't want her to have a second where she is not able to have her peanut butter and jelly and her chicken noodle soup, you know? And I think that I still have a can of that chicken noodle soup somewhere in my pantry. Not necessarily because I have an intention to eat it, but just because it was so significant to me. So, Billy and Vicky just showed up for me so many times in my life and considered me family, and I considered them family. And Vicky passed away last week, and it has been so strange. It's been so strange. And for those who do know, or for those who don't know, after her husband's passing, she was in a very traumatic car wreck that left her with a broken pelvis, and then from there, cleared rehab and everything was looking good, and then broke her femur. Come to find out, she had cancer, which is why the femur was in the state that it was in. Had femur surgery. There were also some issues with some kidneys, and so she went back into rehab. And so every Tuesday from the time that she had her wreck until up until last week, I spent Tuesday nights with her the whole night. When she transitioned to the nursing home, I would just go over for dinner and hang out for a long time, and then I would leave. But she was my friend. And when I think about what community has looked like for her over the last 5 months of her life, I am just incredibly thankful that I got to be a small portion of that. And over the last couple of weeks, I haven't put out an episode. And, you know, I don't want this to sound like, oh, well, Hannah's making excuses, or Hannah, like, I'm just going to stop you right there. I'm not making excuses. I'm not making justifications. I'm just telling you, like, I'm a human and I have bandwidth. And honestly, this was much more important to me in the moment. And I think even sitting here tonight and reflecting and knowing that I just don't fully have the bandwidth to, like, sit and finish editing someone else's episode is okay. You know, I think that it's okay. And as I sit here tonight, like, I'm okay. This is, I don't want this to be like either like a grief share situation either, because I can tell you today at her funeral, it was so sad. I was so much more sad than I thought that I would be, not because I am just the type of person to hold it together at a funeral, but like, this was my friend. I have been thankful in my life that the funerals that I have attended, that there have been my grannies when I was in high school, and then when my pawpaw passed about a year and a half ago. Those are the 2 people in this world that I have lost that I was closest to, and now I have lost my friend, and it sucks. Like, transparently, it just really sucks. And so at her funeral today, there was all of this sadness. But when I tell you that there was also so much joy so much joy. And some of you may think, how do these two things coexist with one another? How do sadness and joy live in the same room with each other? It's because joy comes from the Lord. And if Vicky was nothing other than a product of joy from the Lord, there was a time of like an open sharing opportunity for people to come up and to be able to just give an account on Vicky's behalf and share what she meant to them. And every single person, every single one of them accredited who she was back to Jesus, and the way that she loved people and the way that she cared for people all came back to Jesus. And when I think about my friend and I think about what she has gone through this year, to know that she is truly resting and that she is truly in a place where she is getting to do the thing that she loved to do most on this earth. She loved her son. She loved her husband. She loved her kids. She loved me. She loved her family. But worshiping Jesus, I mean, she's not like, she's the best at it, you know, like it was genuine. And we have kind of like this joke at church that like, if you're leading worship, like you don't look at Vicky. Not because you don't want to. Like, I would just watch her worship, and I feel like I would be able to like have some sort of like secondhand radiation worship experience based upon how genuinely that she worships. But it was more so like, if you're leading worship and you look at her, you're going to lose it. You're going to lose it because it is so real. And if there is a way for us to bottle that up and to be able to distribute that to all believers, I'm telling you, we would be so much better off. And so today when these people shared, and you know, when we sang at her funeral today, we did not sing funeral songs, you know, we sang worship songs. There was a team of us up on stage, and we played instruments and we sang worship songs, and we put words up on the screen, and we encourage people to stand, because that is what she would have wanted. She would have absolutely wanted that. She would not have wanted us to be sitting in that room doing anything but. Secondly, this service today was as much of a tribute to who she is in the Lord as who the Lord is in his faithfulness to her. And I am not going to say that I have not had moments in my life where I wrestled with my faith. I'm not even going to tell you that there haven't been times this year that I haven't been like, God, can you just explain this situation to me? Can you explain to me how this woman lost her husband unexpectedly? And then she has this traumatic car wreck that puts her in long-term rehabilitation. And then she breaks her femur. And then she finds out she has cancer. And then she just steadily goes downhill so quickly. Like, can you explain that to me? And I'm not saying that I have received an answer. But what I can tell you is when I sat in those final moments with her, when I got to go to the hospital late one night last week, and I got to sit in the room with her and just the two of us, I could have told her a million things in this world about how much that I love and appreciate her. But I needed her to know that her faithfulness through the last 5 months of her life and the way that she has continued to point people to the way of God and to the will of God as opposed to the will of Vicky, you know, I told her, I said that's maybe the most important thing. And I just hope that she knows how much of an impact that she made on people. I kind of jokingly, but kind of not, I've shared this opinion for years. I hate that, like, we don't get to see our funerals. And I shared that with someone yesterday, and they were like, how do you know that we don't? I was like, okay, well, like, I'm just gonna make an assumption. I'm gonna take a leap here to say that to be absent from the body is to be present with the Lord. And I don't believe that that it would be that I don't believe that. I'm not gonna take that stance that we potentially could get to see our funerals, but I just don't. But when I think today, I think that today would have really made her proud, and I think that it would have probably brought so much joy to her heart to know that we saw so much Jesus in her, that the way that we chose to celebrate her final moments here, like before her her earthly resting place, was through celebration. It was through celebration hymns, and it has been incredibly encouraging to me to watch the community people around her and around her son and her daughter-in-law and her granddaughters, because it's not easy. She's not had an easy year. But her family has also not had an easy year. And now they are not just moving on from being able to experience what life is going to be like without their grandfather and their dad, but now like without their grandfather and their dad and their grandma and their mom and their mother-in-law and their father-in-law. And so just, I don't know, continue to be in prayer for that family. They're amazing humans and they all love the Lord a whole lot. But there's still a lot of 2025 left, and we're just praying that they can have some rest, and that the rest of this year will be maybe a little less painful than what the first part has been. So that's kind of where my mind has been the last couple of weeks. I also have just been busy. I think everybody knows that. I think that I'm a busy person. I like to stay busy, and the last couple of weeks, my busy has just come before hanging out with you all and putting some episodes out. So, this next week, Lord willing, is going to be a little slower, and I'm excited about it. There are a couple of episodes that I have recorded in the meantime that I'm really excited about, and I think are going to be really good. The next one that's coming out, I am having to put a little work into. I mean, I have to put work into all of them, but I want it to be right. I want it to be good. I want it to be heard and received well. So I don't really have a ton more to say. I just wanted to give thanks to God for community and share kind of where my heart and my head has been, as well as just give an opportunity to share about my friend and her husband. They were both my friends, but Vicky is every bit of a friend to me as what someone my own age is. I would say in some ways that there are probably things that she knows about me and that we have talked about that I don't know that I have shared with all of my friends that are my age, and I don't know that exists often, and I don't know that type of quality relationship exists outside of Christ. And so that's just kind of where I'm at. I don't really have like a hard ending for this, but I appreciate you listening, and I'm super excited about the next couple of episodes. And it was great talking to you guys. Hope you have a great weekend.